This
And
conference will now be recorded.
there's a bit of a difference between reporting and performance analytics, so we'll see those as well. So first thing, performance analytics is a business intelligence tool which helps us to set, track, and analyze goals, organizational goals. Okay, so basically, when I say goals, it's like the organizational goal would be to reduce the incident time required to resolve the incident, right? Or to reduce the P1 incidents that's being raised, or to reduce amount of like first call resolution, to improve the first call resolution. So these are something kind of a goals that organization has. So performance analytics helps in that, in order like it we can create different types of goals, like we can create indicators to achieve those goals, and those indicators can be, we can have trends of those indicators, right? So it's a business intelligence tool which helps us to set, track, and analyze those goals. Performance analytics is again a single system source that is available within ServiceNow. So as we see in the market, there would be we do have multiple analytics solutions like Power BI. We have a Tableau, right? So performance analytics is also on the similar background. It's a business intelligence tool, or it's a BI tool that we use for reporting or to create the dashboards. But the advantage of having performance analytics is it's native to ServiceNow because it's inbuilt in ServiceNow, right? So data is, again, the data, we don't have to transfer data from one system to another system. In case of Power BI or Tableau, we need to have certain integration to before we start using it, or um, before we started to get some dashboards and reports out of it, right? So it's native to ServiceNow. Again, the data is secured. When I say the data is not transferred from one system to another system, so it's a single system where everything is there. We have data related to processes, different processes such as customer service management, HR, or ITSM, right? So the data has been stored into the single system. It's secured, and it's the same BI tool that we have, right? Uh, So the performance analytics, a major difference that you'll observe between the performance analytics and a reporting would be, it's like reporting shows the current state of the records or current state of your process. When I talk about the incident management, right? So when I create a report on an incident management, it shows me the current state, or it's a snapshot of that current record. Versus the performance analytics shows the trend. Okay, so let's take a simple example here. When I say you want to see how many incidents have been resolved by my group, or time taken by my group to resolve an incident, right? So when I create this kind of report, what generally we do is like we create a trend report in ServiceNow, and we have a assignment group. I know my assignment group, I know the incident has been when it has been created, right? So I can get that report. But what happens if the incident assignment group has been changed in between? Okay, so incident has been created today, the assignment group was something else, tomorrow it has been assigned to you, and now you want to see the time, right? So we do not have exact parameter, we cannot calculate it from the beginning, right? So these kind of thing is not feasible into the reporting part. Reporting just shows the current state, it doesn't have the history of the data, because it doesn't have its own data source which is storing something, data of historical trends, right? So that's the major difference. And also, as I said, reporting is a current snapshot versus performance analytics is the historical, it stores the historical data. Or we have the data at the granular level also, right? If you like, when we are using a tool for 5 or 10 years, right? So we want to see data like yearly, or we want to see data quarterly, we want to see monthly, or a day wise also. So it stores the data in different what is it around different date or different timelines, time series. We can have it by quarter. So you want to check the data for a quarter, previous quarter, or you want to forecast the data for the next quarter, right? So forecasting is another important feature that we have in performance analytics compared to reporting. Okay. Uh, uh, Performance analytics by default is activated. So when you purchase, like we do have the ITSM license purchase, performance analytics is available, but it has a limited KPIs. You cannot create new indicators, you cannot create new KPIs, or you cannot monitor new KPIs. Okay, So for that, we need to purchase a separate license, which is like Performance Analytics Premium. That's a separately charged license for, and this performance analytics can be used across all the processes, across all the process in the sense it's not just up to the ITSM, right? So we can have the performance analytics for ITSM, we can have it for CSM, we can have it for PPM or HR in any application that uses or governance risk and compliance, right? So any application in ServiceNow uses the performance analytics nowadays to create the reports and dashboards, right? And once we enable the plugin, then we have the content packs available for each application. Okay, so content pack is nothing but a predefined KPIs or indicators so that you don't have to build it from the scratch. Okay, so when I say CSM or when I say an ITSM as an application, right? So for incident, there would be some predefined KPIs, right? So mean time to resolve the incident or incident backlog, right? Or incident priority. So these are some predefined KPIs that we have. Same goes with the CSM, same goes with the HR, right? So for that, we need to activate a separate content pack. Okay, so it's not charged separately. If you have a premium license, it's not charged separately. We can use these content packs. We can just activate the plugins available. So there are different plugins for different applications, right? So we can use those content packs as per our requirement. So if we have a suppose HR application, we need to enable a content pack for HR. So if we just have ITSM, it's the only content pack that we can enable. So content pack is something predefined that is given by ServiceNow. You can always modify it, or you can always build on top of it, or you can add always the extra KPIs. Okay. So this is about the overview of performance analytics. So let's go to our training content. So what we will see or what we will explore during this performance analytics training. So first we'll try to like identify the how performance analytics has been designed by ServiceNow, right? So we'll see its overall architecture and data flow, like what are different components that we have, right? So how the data flow is when I say reports and when I say performance analytics, what is the data flow? How the data has been passed from one component to other component, and finally it is represented in the dashboard, right? So we'll see overall architecture of the performance analytics. Then we'll see the different key components that we have. Okay, so key components in the sense we do have different, like we do have the indicators, we have the breakdowns, right? We will see we'll see like what are dashboards, we'll see the widgets, right? And then we'll see analytics hub. So there are different components of performance analytics. So we'll go through each and every component in detail. Okay, and we'll try to understand how we can build a new, suppose tomorrow if you have to build a new indicator or a new dashboard separately, right? So how to do it, what are different components that we may have to configure, right? Then we'll see a performance analytic data structure. So data structure is something, what happens like when you create an indicator in ServiceNow, right? You want to measure a KPI, right? So I want to measure an incident mean time to resolve incident, right? And then I want to have some breakdowns also in it. So breakdowns in the sense I want to see it, the first criteria was I want to see the mean time to resolve an incident, and the next criteria is based on the assignment group or based on the priority or based on the contact type, right? So these are my breakdowns that I can configure. Okay, so we'll see those also in detail, like what kind of breakdowns we can configure, how data can be visualized using the these data structures, different data structures that we'll configure. Okay. Next one is we'll see the visualization. So once we have this, everything is configured in the back end. We have the data collection jobs, we have indicators, we have breakdowns, right? Everything has been configured. We'll see how we will visualize the data. So there are different ways to visualize a data into performance analytics. So the foremost and the common one is the dashboard. So this is we can say our final output, right? So once we configure everything, dashboard is my final output that I'll be or the customer will be seeing it, right? So the dashboard is the most important thing. Then we have analytics hub. Analytics hubs is something that is introduced after Madrid, that we have. Previous to that, it was not present. So analytics hubs is something that we can use it to analyze the data. So right. So once we have the data in trend, we have trend data, right? So I want to analyze the data by manually when I open any one single record, right? So I want to analyze the data, how many. So when I say mean time to resolve a trend over a month, right? So when I open a record just for suppose um, for November month or October month, right? So when I open it for October month, then I can see all the incident, how many incidents were there, right? I can compare the incidents which were occurred in September. What was the trend in September? What's the trend in October, right? So I can see, I can analyze all the deep, and also I can see it in different reporting formats. I can see across different period also. I can compare it with different period also, right? So it helps us to compare the data. So dashboard represent the data, and you want to analyze that data, then you go to analytics hub, right? And then we have score sheets. Score sheets is nothing but data representation in performance analytics. So when we store the data in the back end, it's visible, like you want to see the data which is stored in the database kind of thing, right? So performance analytics has its own database to store the historical data, right? So we score sheets is something that represents us, or that shows us the data in tabular format. So you want to see what was the data collected for XYZ KPI on a particular day, right? What was the value for that? You want to see that. So it's something score sheets that show you. Okay, it's kind of the same as a table which stores data for each and every KPI and for each day or whatever collection period we store. Right? For if we are collecting a data daily, then it will show you daily. If you are collecting a KPI weekly, then that score sheet would be a weekly data. It will show. Okay, so these are different data visualizations that we have. So we'll see those also in detail. Okay, about the performance analytics. Then we'll see about the roles. So performance analytics has plenty of roles, like comes with this application. So we have like what is the role required to see the dashboard, or what is the role required to configure a dashboard, and what is the role required to create the widgets in that, right? Or what is if we have any external data sources. So external data sources is something that I can say is we are one source is ServiceNow is a source, right? So incident table is a source for me, data collection. But we can have some external sources also. I can collect the data from third-party system also. So that is again with the integration, but we can collect the data from third-party systems also, right? So we can see what are the roles required for to configure the integrations, or to configure the reports, or to configure the dashboard, to configure the widgets, right? So we'll go through the roles, what are and how we can assign the roles once we start using the performance analytics. Okay. Coming to indicators, so this is the important part that we have indicators. So there are different types of indicators that we have in performance analytics. We have automated indicators, we have manual indicators, and we have formula based indicators. So when I say automated indicators is something that is we can create it a query based indicators, right? So when I say I want to see a mean time to resolve incidents, right? So I can put like, and I want to see it for some specific groups or specific types of incidents only, right? So in automated indicators, I can directly put a query on incident table and get those records. So those are kind of a query based indicators. We put a query and we get those details. When I say a formula based indicator is not exactly the same as automated. It's like it's driven by a formula, a mathematical formula, right? We get the value, but again we put a formula on top of it to calculate that, right? So it's a formula based indicators also we can configure. And then we have manual indicators. Manual indicators is something that for external sources, right? Where the data is not either automated or formula, it's like a manually driven, or manually we can add those indicators, right? So when I say when I'm collecting some amount, some value or some metric from third party system, right? I can show that those as a manual indicators. So we'll see in detail how to configure these, or how to utilize these, or in which situation we should use which indicators. Okay, so we'll see those indicators in detail. Then we will see the breakdowns or bucket groups or element filters. So these are breakdowns, element filters, and bucket groups. It's again, once we have the indicator in place, how we want to show the data, right? So as I said, a breakdowns is something I want to show it by priority. I want to have an option to see that data by priority. I want to have an option to see that data by assignment group, right? So what are different options are required? I have a data now. I have collected the data. Now I want to represent that data by different types of breakdowns, right? So we can configure those breakdowns also. So once we have indicator in place, we'll see how we configure the breakdowns, right? And then once we have all these two things in place, the next job would be to run the data collector jobs. So data collector jobs is something that will be running periodically to collect the data or collect the indicators that we have configured, right? So we configure sources, we configure the indicators, we configure the breakdowns. Now we have everything ready. Now we want to collect the data. So how the data has to be collected periodically, daily, weekly, or twice a daily, right? So it's up to us, or it's up to requirement, that how we want to configure the data collector job. So we'll see how we can configure those as well. Okay. And there, like, there would be certain data collector jobs. So when there are two types of data collector jobs that we have, like we have historical data, right? So when first time when you are implementing a performance analytics, you want to collect the historical data also, right? So when I'm implementing, suppose I'm using an ITSM solution for 2 years now, okay, and now I am purchasing a performance analytics. So I want to collect the data. I want to see the data for last 2 years also for the same indicators or same metrics that we have created in previous steps, right? So we can configure a historical data also, historical data collector jobs also. And then we have a daily collector. Once we have collected the historical data, so it's a kind of historical data collection, it's a kind of a one-time activity that you have to do when we start using it, and then we configure a daily data collector jobs. So we'll see those also in details. And finally, once we have all these things in place, it's like we have to create a dashboard. So we have to create the widgets, right? So we'll see those also, like how to create a new dashboard, how to create a new widgets, how we can add those performance analytics widgets on the dashboards, right? So this is the, you can say, our final output that we'll see with the performance analytics. And then finally, we have interactive filters. Interactive filters is something that is generally we use with the performance analytics, how we can configure those interactive filters, or how we can make it work with the dashboards, right? So that also we'll see in detail. So this is overall our training content that we will cover as part of performance analytics. So overall, we'll cover this everything in 12 hours. So mostly we will have a daily 1 hour session, or sometimes 2 hours. Like if the topic is big, we may have to cover in a single stretch. So those times we'll try to have these sessions for 2 hours. So, but mostly we'll try to cover it 1 hour a day. Okay, so here we will see the details and we'll try to configure the widgets also. Okay, so this time may not be sufficient to configure the widgets, then probably you may have to explore, like once we have the topic covered, you may have to explore that topic, or you try to configure the widgets on your own in your personal instance. And in case of any doubts, any clarifications, generally we cover those in the next day, like before we start the session, we cover those details, right? Uh, so this is overall about the training that we'll be covering. Any questions, any clarifications on this?
Hi Pawan, good morning.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Sheikh. Can we do so? The whatever the content you're showing here,
Uh-huh.
can we perform these all the things in our personal instances? Because I heard that the performance analytics is licensed based. So can we
No,
practice in our personal instances?
yes, absolutely. You can do that. It's licensed version, but you can do that. Not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else has any question, or the course looks good? Anything that you want to you see you missing, or you need so this is overall, like it it we are not going into deep dive, like in the training is something that will give you an idea, but you have to, like, we'll try to configure a few indicators also, but it's like it's logic that we are explaining in the training, right? So you won't be covering the each creating it, all the indicators and all, but yeah, it gives you idea how to build automated manual or formula, how to configure the data sources, right? And then how to configure the breakdowns, or what kind of breakdowns we might need, right? And then finally a data collector job. So it's overall process that we will see. and we'll try to create few like a dashboard, and we'll try to add widgets, like custom widgets on those. Yeah, anyone else has any questions on this? Okay. So over to you, Niliman. Do you have any questions? Niliman, can you hear me?
Yes, Pawan. Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
Anybody
it.
have
Like,
any queries? Yeah, attendees. Yes, Pawan. We can drop it the session for today.
yeah. So this is what, if you want, I can share this PPT with you if you want to share with. Hello.
Yes. Yes. Somebody is talking. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, will it happen daily
Yeah, it will be a
in
daily.
this session?
Yeah.
Okay. So every day I'll be getting the link, right, for the session.
I think we'll use the common. Not sure. Nilima can confirm that, but I think we'll use a common link, a common like link meeting invite that is created, and we can join the same meeting probably daily. But Nilima can confirm that.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. And just a question, like all of you are based in India or like in any other country? Just to have the common time zone.
I'm from India only.
Okay. Okay. I'll then if yeah. I'll coordinate with Nilima then. So based on our common time zone, we'll try to have the training time, and let's see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you, Pawan.
Thank you. Thank you then. See you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.